What I'm going to talk about today is what do you do when your doctor asks you if you own a gun? Okay, this is something that's actually been going on for quite a while. Just think of this. Imagine you're with your family member, you're in your pediatrician's office, and they hand you the piece of paper to fill out, has all the questions about your child's history. But, you know, question number 14 is, do you have a gun in the home? It's right after, you know, swimming pool safety and you know, storage of household chemicals, okay? So what do you put on that form? What do you say? Okay? The interesting thing is that, you know, this is nothing new. This has been going on since the 1980s and early 1990s. And professional medical organizations have had a culture war against the Second Amendment since then. Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership actually was founded because of that kind of thing. American Academy of Pediatrics put out a position statement in 2012. And basically, they advocated for removing guns from homes and communities, strongest possible legislation and regulatory approach to prevent firearm injuries and death, counseling about the dangers of allowing children and adolescents access to guns, and they advocate safe storage and gun locks, but they really recommend removal of firearms from the home. You know, they talk about the presence of guns in the home increasing the risk of lethal suicide. And then, of course, if somebody has a psychiatric disorder, removing guns from the home. They also advocate consumer product regulation in safety and firearm design, in other words, smart guns, right? And also law enforcement tracking of guns. They want regulations aimed at illegal sale of firearms to minors. Isn't that already illegal, right? Decrease destructive power of handguns. What the heck? You have a gun because of its destructive power, not you don't want an ineffective gun, right? So, I mean, this is all the kind of stuff that they're pushing for. But the public health and the medical establishment, they fail to account for nearly 2.4 million defensive gun uses a year. Okay, when they only look at the bad side, they never look at the positive side. And then they also inflate the number of quote-unquote gun violence deaths by including suicides, which bumps the number up by 2/3. Okay, so they're lying to you, right? And then also all this stuff that they're asking for, a lot of times is already law. You know, and so they're just pushing for more and more control. So you have to understand one thing. Doctors receive no training in firearm safety, tactics, or mechanics in medical school or residency. I can tell you that. I did a military residency, and we never talked about any of this stuff, okay? Gun ownership is a civil right. Do not give in to the pressure, okay? And as a consumer, you have great power in the physician-patient relationship. Use it. The Firearms Owner Protection Act of 2011, Florida law, right? And it came in because of all this stuff was going on. And it forbade physicians from pressing patients to give up their firearms or otherwise propagandizing using the physician-patient relationship. It precluded routine documentation of firearms ownership. It did not preclude when relevant patient care, safety, or other concerns, and somebody is unstable. And it did not preclude doctors from providing general information. Unfortunately, the 11th Circuit overturned that law in February of 2017. But the only provision that was upheld was that gun owners could not be treated differently and no patient can be turned away due to their answer to the question of do they own guns or not. David Codrea, I don't know if anybody know who David Codrea is? Okay, David Codrea wrote an article in February of 2017 in AmmoLand. It's called Pro-Gun Owner Physician Decry Docs versus Glocks Ruling. And in that article, he included something called the Firearm Safety Counseling Representation, Physician Qualification, and Liability Form. I suggest all of you go find that article, okay? Basically what it does is at first it asks the physician to list their qualifications and certifications when regards to firearm safety advice in the home. And that it asks if they have reviewed the applicable scientific literature pertaining to defensive gun uses and the beneficial results of private gun ownership. And then that they've also reviewed the myriad of other home safety issues, you know, driveways and trash, you know, garbage mashers, and you get the whole idea, you know, other chemicals, so anyway, and then They also have to represent that they have sufficient expertise to provide expert and clinically sound advice to patients regarding firearms in the home. Or that they don't know any of this stuff and they're still going to engage in giving you counseling even though they have no qualifications whatsoever. So that's the first thing that they're going to look at that and go, oh crap, I'm in trouble. Then the next thing is liability. I am knowingly engaging in home firearm safety counseling without certification, license, or formal training in risk management and have not, oh, I've already got that, never mind. I have determined from a review of my malpractice insurance that if I engage in this, that I am or am not covered by my malpractice insurance. And if I do give you advice and you're harmed by the advice, either my malpractice insurance carrier or my own personal assets will be on the line, okay, to, satisfy the tort, basically, right? I mean, right, exactly. Okay, so, and this form was developed in conjunction with a man named Joe Horn. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he was LA County Sheriff's Office, and he was a risk management specialist. And so this is a nice little tool to use. Okay, so as far as Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, which is my organization, their advice is politely refuse to answer the question. If the question appears on your health plan questionnaire, file a formal complaint with your health plan. If the health plan responds with an excuse that, this is kind of routine and blah, 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 you file a complaint with the state agency that regulates health plans. Okay, you can rate the physician on an internet rating like Yelp or Health Grades. So you have some power, right? You can rate them and give them a bad rating. And also, Medicare and insurance companies now are tying some of their reimbursements to patient satisfaction. So if you get a survey after seeing that doctor and you rate them bad, they actually get paid less. Okay, hit them where it hurts. Okay, this is the power you have. Okay, now, my own personal advice. Also, the last thing is, if the conduct is especially egregious, you can report them to the state medical board for something called an ethical boundary violation, which is essentially using the physician-patient relationship to promote a political agenda that's maybe not in the best interest of the patient. Okay? It's a conflict of interest. Okay, so my advice, lie or shade the truth. Do you own a gun? No, I don't own a gun, right? Tom Gresham of Gun Talk. Everybody know who Tom Gresham is? He says, remember, it is not a sin to lie to somebody that does not have the right to know the truth. Okay? Okay, so if he doesn't have the right to know the truth, you can lie. Remember, in the age of electronic medical records and red flag laws, the government and who the heck else is going to have access to your medical records at some point in time. So you have to be very careful what goes in them, okay? And they could eventually lead to a kind of backdoor gun registry. Every doctor has a mandate to use electronic medical records right now, okay? And they are searchable by the government. All right, so the second thing is have that liability form handy. Have it in your pocket, and if they ask you, you pull it out and say, Doctor, would you please fill out this liability form? I just want to know where I stand with you. And you're going to watch their face turn white, okay? And then also, you have the option of firing that doctor, okay? Now, some people don't because they're in certain plans, but if you're at a kind of regular insurance plan, you can fire that doctor and just say, forget it. Now, Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership has seen this as an issue, so we put together something called toadoc.com. And what it is a matching service for patients and physicians. It's confidential, it's free. So all you do is go to the website, fill out the form, you submit it. We look through our database of physicians and see if we can find somebody in your area for the type of physician we're looking for. It's still early on, there's kind of hit and miss, but it's really something good. Okay, and then of course for the anti-gun zealots, you need just to report them to the state medical board. It's a big deal to have that type of complaint put against you. An ethical boundary violation is akin to having sex with your patient. Okay, that's another ethical violation. Okay, so in fact, they have to hire their attorneys to come and defend them because that's that big of a deal. And then the last thing is, come visit drgo.us, and you can find a lot of resources regarding this type of medical issues and Second Amendment. There's a lot of good resources. And also, the David Codria's article was from AmmoLand, February 22nd, 2017. I suggest that you get your hands on that and make a copy of that form. Thank you very much for your attention.